Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most impactful and entertaining fights from One Piece. Number 30, Luffy vs Kaido, Round 1. The moment Luffy encounters a new villain is always dramatic, but this fight is especially memorable. Kaido seemingly kills Luffy's crew and friends when he destroys a castle in his huge dragon form. Flying into a rage, Luffy immediately throws caution out the window and makes a beeline to Kaido to start pummeling him. The anime really makes a meal of the fight, adding in some greater back and forth before Kaido returns to his normal form. But the biggest shock of all is saved for last, as Kaido manages to knock Luffy unconscious and out of his then strongest form with just one attack. It's a great establishing villain moment for Kaido and shows just how much Luffy still needs to grow. Number 29, Shanks vs Kid. One Piece fans have waited over 25 years to finally see Luffy's mentor Shanks in action, and the Emperor's first proper fight does not disappoint. The cocky and violent Eustace Captain Kid rolls up to Shanks' admittedly weak fleet and seemingly obliterates it with his railgun. However, Shanks' observation haki is strong enough that he foresees the attack and leaps into action. After jumping to Kid's ship, Shanks delivers a divine departure that wrecks Kid, his first mate, and part of the ship. We know calling it a fight is a bit generous, but when it's this hype, honestly, who cares? Number 28, Straw Hats vs Oars. While it may lack the stakes or great animation of the other great fights, this massive brawl is perhaps the single greatest demonstration of the Straw Hat Pirates fighting together. When faced with the massive and impossibly durable giant zombie oars, the crew holds nothing back. Each pulls out their biggest move, and there are tons of creative team-up attacks. A few even use their specialties outside of battle to help, like Frankie's carpentry or Chopper's medical knowledge. The fight also delivers some laugh-out-loud comedy throughout. Ultimately, it takes all of them working together and one spine-shattering blow from Luffy to put the undead Colossus down for good. Number 27, Kizaru vs Supernovas. He may speak at a snail's pace, but this Marine Admiral can move at light speed, literally. Kizaru's arrival at Sabati Archipelago spells doom for many of the hotshot rookie pirates that gathered there. Despite boasting bounties of over 100 million each, 4 of these supernovas fall in rapid succession to Kizaru. He kicks them at light speed, fills them full of lasers, and generally styles on all of them. The introduction of each admiral is always memorable, yet this absolute beatdown arguably takes the cake among their debuts. Number 26, Frankie vs Senor Pink. This might seem like a ridiculous fight on the surface, a cyborg dressed in a Speedo duking it out with a grown man dressed like an infant. Yet, despite both combatants' absurd appearances, there's surprising depth to be had here. Not only do both Frankie and Senor repeatedly demonstrate that they're chads of men, they develop a healthy mutual respect during their duel. It gets to the point where they agree to take whatever the other can dish out. We're also treated to Senor Pink's shockingly tragic backstory in the middle. By the time Frankie has finished pummeling the hard-boiled man into submission, we're shedding a tear at his defeat. Number 25, Law vs Blackbeard. Given how opportunistic he is, Blackbeard doesn't often go all out. Still, during his ambush against Trafalgar Law and his crew, the devious Emperor can't hold back. Both combatants unleash their absolutely broken devil fruit powers against each other in one stunningly animated sequence after another. Law manages to land some decent hits in, striking Blackbeard from afar and nearly sending him into the briny deep. However, Blackbeard's overwhelming quake and darkness powers ultimately win out. We'd probably rank this fight higher if Law's defeat wasn't off-screen though. While we're happy he gets away, it doesn't make for the most satisfying conclusion. Number 24, Luffy vs Bluno. The members of CP9 prove challenging for the Straw Hats at first. However, by the time Luffy catches up to Bluno on the Tower of Justice, he's figured out a few tricks that work on the government assassins. He's able to bypass their durable bodies with stronger attacks and even manages to track his extreme speed. Bluno does manage to briefly stymie the Straw Hat Captain with his bizarre door-making powers. However, it's basically over once Luffy decides to kick things into another gear. In the debut of his now iconic Gear Second form, Luffy proceeds to steamroll Bluno by using his speedy new transformation to thoroughly crush his opponents. It's a satisfying beatdown of a battle that reveals one of Luffy's coolest power-ups. Number 23, Garp vs Kuzan. Luffy's grandpa going toe-to-toe with his ex-pupil / former admiral turned pirates is the matchup we didn't know we wanted. Tinged with melancholy as the former master and pupil trade blows, and featuring peak animation throughout, this fight, much like its conclusion, is an explosive knockout. Number 22, Luffy vs Don Krieg. An often overlooked fight, this battle pits Luffy against one of East Blue's strongest pirates, Don Krieg. The arrogant, tricked-out pirate is loaded with gadgets, weapons, and armor galore, with everything from spikes to nets to poison gas to a spear with a bomb in it. However, the fight effectively distills the essence of what makes Luffy amazing and what will ultimately make him Pirate King. His unwavering resolve in the face of any challenge or obstacle sees him meet and overcome everything that Don Krieg throws at him through sheer will and boundless creativity. Krieg surrounds himself in armor and weapons to ensure he'll never be hurt. Meanwhile, Luffy fights with nothing but his rubber fists, because he's utterly fearless. Number 21. Luffy vs Kizaru. This was a grudge match years in the making. After basically causing the Straw Hats' separation 2 years prior, Kizaru faces Luffy again on Egghead. However, as Luffy tells him, he's 100 times stronger now. Although he gets a few blows in on the Admiral in base form, and with Gear 4th, things go absolutely nuts as they usually do when Luffy goes Gear 5th. From grabbing him as a giant to flinging him around, to the pair's aerial light show of a battle, their fight is complete insanity from start to finish. Luffy may have Kizaru literally seeing stars by the end of it, but we're so in love with this battle that we're practically seeing them too. Number 20. Ace vs Blackbeard. If it were any other opponent, Fire Fist Ace would have burnt them to cinders with a single swing. But alas, his opponent was none other than Whitebeard's old comrade, Marshall D. Teach, and he's got a devil fruit even more terrifying than his own. The clash between the Sun and the Shade is so fearsome that it levels an entire town, while also serving as the trigger that leads to Ace's imprisonment. We were sure that we hadn't seen the end of Blackbeard's cruelty, but this was the moment we knew we were watching One Piece's ultimate villain start to emerge. Number 19. Sanji vs Jabra. We had to give our boy Sanji a chance to shine somehow, and shine he does when he unleashes some fiery footwork in the form of the Diable Jambe. This turns out to be just the thing he needs to take out CP9 member Jabra, who, in addition to a mastery of hard-hitting martial arts, can transform himself into a wolf. However, no amount of cunning can stop him from getting on the receiving end of Sanji's blazing heel as he sends him crashing through Eni's lobby. Number 18. Nightmare Luffy vs Oz and Gecko Moria. While this gigantic zombie does indeed put the crew through their paces, when going up against the Straw Hats, you had best be prepared for the fight of your life. Oz certainly manages to lay on the damage thanks to stealing Luffy's powers for himself, but doesn't stand a chance when said captain returns to the fray, this time imbued with 100 of Thriller Bark's vengeful shadows. With their strength added to his own, Luffy is able to take out his undead double piloted by Gecko Moria with quite the brutal display of force. Number 17. Zoro vs Kaku. Who would have guessed that the swordsman of the Straw Hat Pirates taking on a giant giraffe would have made for one of the arc's most epic confrontations? Given that Luffy and Lucci were beating each other bloody next door, that's saying a lot. Despite his rather ridiculous new form, CP9's second deadliest assassin manages to push Zoro to the edge. At least until he talks crap about Robin, then the gloves come off. Busting out the 9-sword style, Zoro manages to cut his way through all of Kaku's attacks and end the battle in a brutal swing. Number 16. Zoro vs Ryuma. Why just have Zoro gain a new sword when he could earn it by defeating an undead samurai? One of the highlights of the crew's misadventures in Thriller Bark, Zoro finds himself battling for control of Brook's soul against the zombie known as Ryuma. Despite his decrepit appearance, the old boy still has some strength left in those rotten bones, putting the Straw Hat Swordsman through his paces. Still, he's no match for Zoro, who gives his foe a proper warrior's send-off. Number 15, Luffy vs. Arlong. Even before obtaining his gear forms, Luffy still has plenty of badass moments, and his clash against Arlong is at the top of the list. As the final major antagonist of the East Blue arc, Luffy's battle with Arlong is chock full of memorable moments. Although this fight includes occasional comedic moments, it's Luffy's serious ones where he clashes with Arlong morally and physically that steal the show. As he fights to liberate Nami and her village, we see Luffy unleash his rage like never before, taking down Arlong and proving what it means to have true strength. The fact that Arlong's defeat would eventually impact Fishman Island years later with the rise of the new Fishman pirates also demonstrates how impactful this battle truly was. Number 14, Zoro vs. Mr. One. This battle between two former bounty hunters proved an important trial for Zoro to overcome to reach even greater heights. While it is clear that both fighters are incredibly skilled, Zoro's inability to overcome Mr. One's steel body proves quite the hindrance as his opponent slowly overpowers him. Being forced on the defensive, Zoro's luck eventually runs out when Mr. One bombards him with one ferocious attack after another. Despite getting his body slashed to hell and narrowly avoiding getting crushed by fallen debris, Zoro's near-death experience allows him to uncover the secret to cutting steel, ending this fierce battle with a single strike and a savage comeback. Number 13, Robin vs. Black Maria. Although Nico Robin rarely has the opportunity to fight strong foes, when she does cut loose, she becomes her enemy's worst nightmare. During the Wano arc, Robin finally gets to show what she's made of when she confronts Black Maria, one of Kaido's top-end forces. Despite Maria's attempts to mess with her head, Robin easily breaks through Maria's web of deceit. Even when she gets caught in Maria's literal webs and endures a brutal beatdown, she breaks free thanks to some brand spanking new techniques. Of course, that pales in comparison to Robin's final trump card. After Maria mistakenly pushes Robin too far, she fully embraces her inner demon, revealing a terrifying new form and using it to teach Maria a painful lesson she won't soon forget. Number 12, Luffy vs. Usopp. Talk about emotional. After clashing over the fate of their ship, the Going Merry, Usopp challenges Luffy to a fight, the winner taking claim to the vessel. Now, you would think that this would be a walk in the park on Luffy's part, but surprisingly, Usopp manages to hold his own, outwitting and wounding his captain in a visceral display of defiance. Of course, he can only hold out for so long before Luffy lands the finishing blow, leading to the two parting ways as the crew is splintered from within. Enemies come and go, but seeing two steadfast friends fight like this is just heartbreaking. Number 11. The Red Scabbards vs Kaido. After waiting 20 years for a chance to avenge their fallen lord, running away was the last thing on the minds of these loyal samurai, not even when their foe was the world's strongest creature. While attacking Kaido head-on would normally be a fool's errand, the remnants of Odin's spirit ignite the Scabbards' willpower, granting them the strength to damage Kaido's nigh indestructible body. They even pay tribute to Odin by using his signature sword style to inflict major damage on Kaido. Even though they inevitably fail to stop Kaido, this does little to diminish the efforts of the Red Scabbards, as well as the intensity of their fight scenes. Number 10. Luffy vs Crocodile. One of the finest villains the series has ever produced, the shadowy leader of Baroque works nearly brought the country of Alabasta to its knees through deception and his own overwhelming power. After failing to defeat him 2 previous times, Luffy finally figured out how to damage Crocodile without any major setbacks. Using his very own blood, Luffy was able to lay the smackdown on the Sand User, smashing him through the roof of the mausoleum for all to see. Number 9. Law and Kid vs Big Mom. It's a given that no sane person would dare challenge Big Mom. Unfortunately for her, pirate captains Eustace Kid and Trafalgar Law are the furthest thing from normal. After separating Big Mom from Kaido, Law and Kid face the full brunt of Big Mom's rage, forcing the 2 rivals to work together to survive. In a battle that pits strategy and raw power against an overwhelming force of nature, Law and Kid pull out all the stops, including their awakened devil fruit abilities, to inflict massive damage on Big Mom, forcing her to take drastic measures. In the end, despite enhancing her power, Law and Kid's determination breaks through Big Mom's defenses, bringing her reign as Emperor to a brutal end. Number 8. Luffy vs Doflamingo. It's a testament to Oda's genius how he keeps managing to make each of his villains so wholly hateable within such a short frame of time. A former noble turned warlord, Doflamingo is one nasty piece of work. His anger and psychosis lead him to take control of the kingdom of Dressrosa through rather bloody means. His actions send him on a collision course with Luffy, ending in a brawl for Dressrosa's future. While they're evenly matched when it comes to the use of Haki, Luffy has a trump card that not even the Puppet Master can stand against: Gear 4th. Number 7. Sanji vs Queen. By combining the power of science with his Jurassic might, Queen the Plague has more than earned his bounty of over $1 billion. Unfortunately for him, he made the mistake of pissing off the wrong cook. Bad enough that Queen has such little regard for people's lives, but when he starts throwing Sanji's family name into the mix, the Straw Hat member proceeds to barbecue Queen's insides with extreme prejudice. When Queen then starts using the abilities of Germa 66 against Sanji, the latter embraces his recently awakened enhancements to turn up the heat on his attacks and burn his fury into Queen's body. This battle also includes top-quality animation, which was the perfect spice to enhance this spectacular moments to even more epic proportions. Number 6. Luffy vs. Lucci Rematch. What better way for the series to celebrate its 1100th episode than with the long-awaited rematch between Luffy and Cypher Paul's Rob Lucci. Even though the stakes are not quite as high as their first confrontation, Lucci's rematch against Luffy is nonetheless a memorable experience filled with stunning animation, literal jaw-dropping fight sequences, as well as callbacks to their original brawl. Both fighters have also mastered new abilities with Lucci's Awakened Zone form, and Luffy's powerful yet entertaining Gear 5th transformation. As their battle tears through the island of Egghead, Lucci puts up one hell of a fight, but in the end, his bloodlust and killer instincts are no match against Luffy's limitless imagination. Number 5. Zoro vs. King. The right-hand men of both Luffy and Kaido have proven themselves incredibly powerful, but at the end of the day, only one was worthy of being called a true king. Initially, Zoro struggles against the combination of King's unorthodox fighting style and the quirks of his Lunarian biology. However, after discovering the secret of his new blade Enma, Zoro unleashes his conqueror's potential and uses his newfound strength to slash through the Lunarian warrior's defenses. After recognizing Zoro's strength, King increases the intensity of his attacks, bombarding Zoro with the power and fury of a volcanic eruption. With awe-inspiring visuals and top-notch animation, Zoro's clash with King is a work of art and is considered one of the series' highest-rated moments. Number 4. Whitebeard vs. Akainu. There were many casualties during the war at Marineford, but none hit closer to home than when this wicked admiral ended Ace's life. While nothing will ever fill the void left by his departure, we were given a consolation prize as we watched Whitebeard dwarf the magma user before lashing out with righteous fury. Despite being shot, stabbed, and having his body blown apart by molten rock, Whitebeard's anger over losing his precious son keeps pushing him forward, resulting in Akainu getting absolutely wrecked. Number 3. Luffy vs. Katakuri. With the ability to see into the future and do everything Luffy can do but better, Luffy's showdown against Charlotte Katakuri was one of his toughest and most compelling fights. With power and experience far exceeding his own, Luffy was at a major disadvantage against Big Mom's strongest child. And yet, even after being put through the ringer, Luffy endured Katakuri's relentless onslaughts through luck and sheer force of will, before finally turning the tables after mastering his own foresight and revealing a new fourth gear transformation. As the battle reached its climax, both fighters pushed well beyond their limits, unleashing all-for-nothing blows with devastating impact. As Luffy ultimately leaves the victor, he shows Katakuri the appreciation and respect he rightfully deserves. Number 2. Luffy vs. Lucci. In order to save the life of crewmate Robin, Luffy had only one obstacle to overcome, the CP9's ultimate assassin, Rob Lucci. With his slew of powerful techniques and transformation into the Leopard Hybrid, Lucci was pretty much the perfect killing machine, one easily capable of standing up to Luffy's Gear 2nd and Gear 3rd. It even looked like he had won the day when he blasted Luffy's insides to pieces. Unfortunately for this kitty, Luffy isn't one to let something like internal hemorrhaging stop him, which he goes on to display by letting loose a barrage of punches so strong, it pretty much takes out 8 of Lucci's 9 lives. Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here's some honorable mentions. Luffy vs. Enel. Luffy takes down a false god to save all of Skypiea. Zoro vs. Mihawk. The world's strongest swordsman humbles the East Blue's feared pirate hunter. Zoro vs. Killer. The right-hand men of 2 worst generation captains go all out. Nami vs. Khalifa. The Straw Hat's navigator proves she can hold her own. The worst generation vs. Kaido and Big Mom. The strongest pirates of the current generation take on the rulers of the former era. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure to go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Luffy vs. Kaido. With its amazing fight scenes and movie-quality animation, Luffy's battle against Kaido stands at the pinnacle of Wano arc fights. Despite suffering multiple setbacks against Kaido, Luffy constantly bounces back to fight him, growing more determined each time. Likewise, Kaido responds by unleashing all of his power, which has barely diminished even after battling dozens of fighters across nearly 50 episodes. The situation further escalates as Luffy's Devil Fruit awakens and unlocks Gear 5th, allowing him to counter Kaido's destructive attacks in various creative ways using the power of Toon Force. As the battle draws to a close, fans won't soon forget the image of Luffy slamming an island-sized haymaker into Kaido's face and bringing the greatest clash in One Piece so far to a satisfying conclusion. Did your favorite One Piece clash make this list? If not, let us know in those comments below.